Welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching, where we help women recover from and flourish after stress and trauma. I'm so glad to be with you here today. I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you're ready to talk some more and learn some more about what we can do to reduce the stress in our lives. So I have told you before that I was married to an alcoholic for 13 years, and at one point, he got arrested for DUI, and it looked like he could go to prison for 12 to 24 months. And I was devastated. I had in my mind the way my life had to be. I could not be alone for that long. I could not be without him for that long. I would never be able to survive. And it turned out he actually ended up being gone to prison for 4 years. And I did not believe I could survive it, and I did not believe I could survive that. I thought that was a terrible thing. It actually turned out to be a very productive 4 years where I actually got to learn who I was, what I liked to do. The point I want to make is that I thought things had to be a certain way. It turns out they did not. Before COVID, I thought things were a certain way and had to be a certain way for us in order to survive, to be happy. And we found in COVID, oh my word, who would have thought that schools could close? Who would have thought that church would close? That these things would happen and that we could still maybe not be happy the way we were, but still be joyful and still be okay. So one of the things that COVID has taught me is that I think things have to be a certain way, and they don't. This goes along with today's video series. Let me share my screen with you. If you will recall, we have been talking about how to reduce stress. We've talked about what about when we're stressed in the moment, I'm triggered, I'm frantic, my heart is racing, I can't breathe well, I'm frustrated. We've talked about breathing exercises and things to be able to calm ourselves and regulate ourselves in the moment. Then we've talked about how to be proactive and get rid of the stressful situations that we can. Some stress is good because it's stretching you, and other stress is daily, and it just wears you out. And then we've talked about that the main thing we have to do, the most important thing, is to decrease our reaction to stress. It's not necessarily the situation that is stressing you out so much as your reaction to stress. If you have missed the previous videos, you can go to my website, kimberlyncoaching.com, and go to the Springboard tab, and then you can find all my past videos. You can catch up on all of these and learn whatever you want to learn, actually. So today, we're continuing on with our core disciplines. So these are concepts that if you apply these in your lives, it can help you live more powerfully, more joyfully, less stressfully. These first three are like the most important, and 1 and 2 have to be able to be done before we can do number 3. So we talked about becoming aware, and we talked about accepting life as it is, and now we're talking about conscious choice. Last week we talked about the illusion of choice, how we feel like we're choosing, and actually we're just running on old habits that our brain has picked up through the years that we have thought had to be, like I told you at the beginning. Those were old habits, old thoughts that I did not even know that I had and did not know where they came from, but was believing them and acting on them. So today we're going to go to the second part of conscious choice, and we're going to learn about becoming responsible, making our own choices. So to do that today, we are going to talk about six items, 6 topics, 6 tips, how to become responsible. First, we're going to talk about that we're always at choice. Second, we're going to talk about let's make our choices out of purpose rather than fear. You may not even know which way you're doing that right now. Number 3, we want to talk about trusting ourselves. We want to look for the best solution, not the right solution. We want to not judge, and we want to use discernment. So the first one is we're always at choice. Now, last week we talked about that, the fact that we actually, so this is a paradox. most people have an illusion of choice. If you're not aware, you're not really at choice. You are just running with those old habits. Once you become aware of that, once you become aware of the way that your brain works, and you can start challenging these ideas in your head to see, is this really what I want to do? Is this where I'm just running on habit? Then you realize that we are always at choice. So many times we feel like I have no options when we really do. So when you start to become aware of this and you realize I do have a choice, I always have a choice. I may not like the choices. I may not like the consequences of the choice, but I do always have choices. So when we feel like we don't have choices, we feel weak, we feel powerless, we feel like we're not in control of our own lives. Once we realize we do have choices, even if we don't really like them, that helps us feel in power of our own lives, in control of our own lives, and it just changes the way we look at ourselves and the world. So when we talk about being responsible, that's what you are when you make conscious choices. When we make conscious choices, we're less stressed about things and we're just more in control of everything. So let's talk about our motivation for why we're making the choices. Remember that we talk about everything is energy, things, choices, activities, thoughts either drain your energy or they lift up your energy. Remember, the draining and the breaking it down is what we call catabolic energy, and building you up is anabolic. So if you feel like I have to do something, so if you're making a choice because you have to do it or I need to do this, these are coming out of fear. You have a fear that if you don't do this, something bad is going to happen. This drains your energy. This makes you feel powerless. If you're actually choosing to do something out of purpose, you have a reason to do this. I want to do this. It may not be something that you enjoy every single minute of it, but you have a reason in your heart that you believe that this is a good thing for you to do. When you're choosing out of purpose, then this boosts your energy. Here are some examples. So let's say you're exercising. You've made it a goal to do an exercise habit. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it because you're wanting to nurture and care for your body? Which would mean you're doing it out of purpose. You like what this does for your body, even if you don't like the way it feels every single minute. Maybe you hate burpees, like I do, but you like the whole overall thing that exercise does for you. So this is your choosing out of purpose. What if you're doing exercising because your doctor has told you you have to exercise or you're going to have a heart attack, or whatever your doctor or whatever reasons you are that you're out of fear because you feel like you have to do this. So here's another example. What about you're working late? So are you working late because you just love what you're doing? Or are you working late because you're afraid that if you don't do this, you're not going to get a promotion? What is your motivation? Fear or purpose? There's so many examples of this. The way you eat, the choices that you make, the activities that you have. When you said yes when the school asked you to do something to help in your child's class, did you do that out of purpose? You wanted to help out? You wanted to be a part of this? Or did you do it out of fear? They're not going to approve of me. It's going to seem like I'm a bad mother. When you had a relationship, you stayed in the relationship or you left the relationship. What were your choices? What were your reasons behind your choices? Am I staying out of purpose because this is what I want to do, or am I staying because I'm afraid? I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid of how they're going to react. I'm afraid of how people are going to see me. If you leave, are you leaving because you're afraid, or are you leaving out of purpose? Everything that you're doing in your life, it's good to look at and see, what is my motivation for why I'm making these choices? I have a challenge for you. So if you want to take this, Actually write these down, list out some of the choices that you make in everyday life, in your work, in your home, in whatever you're doing in your life, and write them down and then note beside them, think about it, and think about whether this choice is based on purpose or on fear. Put a word down on either one of those. Then during the next week, do this experiment. When you're making whatever choices that you make this week, try to consciously choose it from a place of purpose, which is also a place of power, not out of fear, which is weakness. And then as you do that, write down what happens. How do you feel when you make the choices this way? Did you find yourself making different choices than you would normally do? Did you feel better about yourself? Did you feel worse about yourself? How did this go? Write all this down. And if you would like help with this, I am a professional life coach. I love working with women dealing with stress and trauma. And if you would like some help in working through any of this, there's a link at the bottom of the show notes. You can click that link. You can schedule your free consult. I'll give you a free coaching session and we can talk to see whether it would work out for us to have a coaching relationship. The next thing that we need to work on is trusting yourself. Now, this may be hard if you have had a time in your life where you got fooled. Maybe you've been in a bad relationship and that person lied to you and you believed them, or you believed they were a good person and they turned into a bad person, or maybe you yourself have done things that you feel bad about, things that you would never have done, and you thought, I would never do something like this, and I did that. How could I do that? All those things make it hard to trust yourself. But this is something we can learn to do, because here's the thing. All that we're talking about, you already know the answers. They're inside of you. You may not realize what they are, but they're inside of you. When I was married to my alcoholic and I was letting him fool me and tell me he wasn't drinking, I knew he was drinking. I just didn't want to accept it because then I would have to make decisions. The things going on in our lives, we know the answers whether we realize it or not. And you rob yourself of your own wisdom when you don't trust yourself and when you rely on the opinions of others. Now, it is good to get wisdom from others. It's good to talk things over, especially with people who are wise and mature. It's not so great just to talk it over with your girlfriends who are in the same situation as you are. If all of you are in the forest and you can't see the forest for the trees, then that might not be the right person to get advice from. But even after you talk with people, you get different people's opinions. Nobody knows your life like you do. So you are the expert on your life, and you are the person who ultimately knows what you need to do in any situation. This is the main premise of coaching. That's one of the things that makes us different from therapy and counseling. As a coach, I believe that you know what you need to know. And you might need some more knowledge about things, but when it comes down to it, once you get that knowledge, you are the one who can make the decisions for yourself. And as a coach, what I would do when I work with you is I would ask you powerful questions that will make you think about things, and ask yourself, challenge yourself to where you can find out, why am I not trusting myself? What happened to make me not trust myself? Why can't I believe this, or whatever is inside of you? I help you bring that out with questions, because I believe that you yourself know the answers. So trusting yourself is very important when we make these conscious choices. Another thing to know as we're making choices and decisions is there are many options. So many times we feel like there's just one option. When I'm on my own, when you're on your own, we may think that there's not a way out. The situation I'm in, I'm stuck. There's only one option. When we talk it out with someone, we find there are many different multiple options. Again, this is a great thing to do with a coach. You can also do it with a friend, but this is what we're taught to do. So there are always, if we know in our head there are multiple situations, multiple solutions, if we know that in our head, then we can look for them. And the more our eyes open the more we see and the more choices that we have. Now, understandable, you don't necessarily like the consequences of several of the solutions, but knowing that you do have options makes it easier, even if you end up choosing a solution of something that you don't really like doing it. But if it's your choice, your conscious choice, I've looked at all these different options, this remains the best one, even though it's still not what I would hope for. It makes you feel powerful and in control of your own life. This one is so important to me anyway. This has made a big difference in my life. Looking for the best answer, the best solution versus the right one. I spent all my life looking for that perfect solution because I'm a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I was always looking for the right one. And when I would have decisions to make, I would just get paralyzed. What if this is the wrong one? I always felt like there was one perfect one and everything else was terrible, horrible, no good. That is not actually the way life is. There may be better solutions. One may be better than the others, but there's not necessarily one perfect and everything else is terrible. So if you can look for the best solution, the best decision, this frees you up for so many things. First of all, it frees you up to go forward because you're not paralyzed thinking, oh no, what if this is not the perfect one? So if I'm looking for the best one, not the perfect, it lets me move forward, it empowers me. And then it lets me have these beliefs. And these beliefs are all very good to help me feel good about myself and help me to move forward. So first of all, I can believe that I cannot make a mistake. Now, that may have just punched you in the gut. You might have thought, what? That is not true. I cannot believe that I cannot make a mistake. That's actually kind of how that hit me too when I first heard it. But look at the next one. Maybe the next one will help you a little with that. Do you believe that you always do the best you can at any given moment? I believe that about myself. I believe that anytime I want to do right, I want to do good, and I always want to do the best I can. Now, sometimes I don't do the best, but I always want to. Now, also, we remember that we've talked about having a growth mindset. So if we have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, we believe that anything that happens to us in life, we can grow from it. We can learn, we can change, and that we don't have to be perfect. So if we take those ideas, we can put that into that statement of we cannot make a mistake. So something that might feel like a mistake, it might feel like the wrong thing to do. If I have a growth mindset, I can say, let's see what I did there. How can I learn? How can I grow? How can I do better? I believe that I did the best I could at the moment. Even if it didn't turn optimal, it's not a mistake per se. How does that work? Can you get that a little bit better? If you have any thoughts about that or comments about that, whether you like it or not, put them in the comments. Let me know what you think. So here's another thing that we can also know I've already said this before, is we know more than we think we do. We know more than we think we do, and best can change. So I may have made this decision in the past. It was the best at the moment that I could do. Given the knowledge that I had, given the experience that I had, this seemed like the best one at the time, and best can change. Through the years, I've grown, I've changed, I've matured. The world has changed. Things have changed, and now maybe a different decision would be better going forward. We can change our decision. We can modify whatever decision we make. It's not stuck in stone, and we're not saddled with that decision for the rest of our life. Ooh, here's something that stops us short in our tracks when we're trying to make good, conscious choice decisions. Judging. When we judge, when we were talking about learning about being in acceptance, we talked about how judging keeps you from being able to accept what is. Because when we judge this is good and that is bad, then we don't want to accept what is reality. It clouds our decision-making ability. It makes us not be able to see our choices. If I'm automatically judging things before I've even looked at them, then I'm not going to see all my options and I can't consider them all. I think I've told you this story about my daughter and I shopping for a desk, I had a small room. We were shopping for a desk to put my computer on. We found this desk that was really great. It was a U-shaped, and it had this little part that came out here. And we loved it. It would be so great. I could work at my computer. She could sit there at the end and do her homework, but I just did not feel like it would fit into our room. I made a judgment without going forward and learning more about it. And I just said, no, this is not going to work. She kept looking, kept figuring, kept trying to figure it out. And she actually found a way that we could fit it into our room. So we bought it and had many happy hours of me working at my computer and her doing her homework right there beside me. But we nearly didn't get it because I was judging it as no before I even looked at it, whether it would actually work or not. Now, again, we talked about catabolic, and I'm going to remind you, remember at the very beginning, we talked about levels of energy. We're all energy, and the way we respond to the world, we can look at it as energy. We look at it the way we look at the world. But we talked about catabolic is the kind of energy that tears you down, breaks down, because it comes from those hormones. Remember that your brain pours out the cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. When we're in those kind of feelings, then we pour out those hormones and it's breaking us down. So remember, the level 1 energy is we're basically in a victim mode. The world is against me. I can't do anything right. Poor me. I'm feeling sad. I'm depressed. I have no energy. I feel like I'm at the effect of everything going on around me. And when I'm at level 2 energy, I'm more like, I'm doing okay, but you're doing this to me. I'm getting angry now. I'm wanting to be right. I want the world to be right. I want you to be right. And I'm kind of inflexible. And you remember that all these energy levels are not bad, but we want to look at them and be aware of where we are and how these are working for us. So when we're in level 1 or level 2 energy, we're in that catabolic energy, we're in judgment, and it's not a good place to make a choice from. So if you've ever lost a loved one, or lost someone close to you, or you've left a bad relationship, people tell you don't make major decisions for, let's say, 6 months or a year or for some period of time. Because when this happens to you, when you go through these traumatic things, you're in level 1 and level 2. You're angry, you're sad, you're in all this catabolic, your mind is not focusing clearly, and it's not a good place to make conscious choice. So if that is where you are, you need to work out of that before you would actually want to make any major choices. The word that we want to use as we're making these choices is discernment. We want to discern. And discernment, the definition for it is the ability to see and understand people, things, or situations clearly and intelligently. When we discern things, we take in all the information and we're able to make rational decisions, conscious choices, because of what the facts are. We are aware of what is coming from our past. We're aware of what is coming from the baggage that we carry, but we're able to see that clearly and make the choices without the habits overflowing us, without the catabolic judgment overwhelming us. We're able to make conscious choice. So we have to be in that anabolic state where we're not in the anger and the depression. Then we can make decisions without that fog of our brain. We can evaluate what is, and we can make conscious choices about what to do next. So let's just sum up what we talked about today. We are always at choice, as long as we're aware, and we want to make our choices out of purpose rather than fear. We want to trust ourselves. You know more than you think. You know what is right for you. We want to search for the best solution, not the right solution. No judging, and let's use discernment. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Like I said, if you would like to work with me or even talk to me about working with me, use that link, set yourself up an appointment, and we can have a free consult. Meanwhile, I hope you have a great week. Goodbye.